One thing I wanted to ask you, because I know it's highlighted a lot and it's obviously changing the landscape of cryptocurrency as a whole, and the access and the finances that are going into it now and the capital rolling in. But I know there'll be people out there as part of the audience who won't understand how important that is, or what the sort of dynamic of the ETFs being approved and being made makes for the market. Could you break that down slightly of like why is it that these ETFs being approved and being made is so important?
So it's all about the path of least resistance. The ETF is the path of least resistance for liquidity and big money to come in. Many of these companies that will invest in an ETF, in a mutual fund, they have investors, policies, things of this nature that they need to comply with. Telling them, hey, go buy Bitcoin and hold it in a ledger is not viable for these companies. An exchange traded fund is the pooling of this money in order to attack or purchase or acquire a certain asset class. In this case, you have the Bitcoin ETF. So the Bitcoin ETF is a cumulative of a lot of companies that have interest in Bitcoin and want Bitcoin exposure without having direct exposure to Bitcoin. So you have the custody or the middleman. So you don't just have BlackRock, you have a ton of other companies that are right now launching their ETFs, not just in the United States, but overseas. And what it's doing is allowing the path of least resistance for institutional capital, people that have policies and rules on how their money is supposed to be managed, and is a lot more conservative than we think, pouring into Bitcoin. Number two, we have sovereign states. Sovereign states and sovereign individuals now getting into Bitcoin. A lot of them do it through big banks, do it through big organizations. So buying Bitcoin directly for them doesn't make sense. They're in it for the trade. They're in it for the money. They don't necessarily care about holding the Bitcoin itself. Might as well just leave it with Coinbase custody. That's how they think about it. So the reason it's important is because it's the path of least resistance, number one. Number two, it's the validation that it's actually a financial market that is accepted. Once the U.S. accepts something as a national asset class or something that the market will kind of consider, it becomes a standard worldwide. So now Bitcoin has become normalized, which is a phenomenal thing. And it's given us a guideline as to what we can and can't do within the crypto space that allows other projects and other companies and other tokens to be able to follow that same path. The Ethereum ETF is on the way as well. And I think that one's going to be massively lucrative. I'm very bullish on ETH. We're sitting at I think right now, a $3,400 ETH. Very cheap, under all-time high. And we could see it push to $5,000, $6,000, even $10,000 with a very bullish scenario.
In terms of like where we're at right now, like we've hovered around, we made an all-time high ever so slightly on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And then we had a pullback and we've just sort of been hovering, for a good amount of months now. What are your thoughts? What is the market trying to wait for? Do you think it's like the elections is playing a part of that? Is there any sort of factors that you think are keeping prices sort of subdued at the moment?
I mean, Bitcoin went from 20,000 to 60,000 in the span of a couple months. Now you're just consolidating for another leg up. I mean, the market hasn't really done much. The altcoins obviously have bled out. That's naturally what happens when Bitcoin trends sideways and you have meme coins kind of becoming the main source of liquidity for the market. Everything else kind of gets pulled. But now you're seeing projects resurface. But what I like about the market is that the market, every single bull run, becomes more intelligent. They figure out how they're getting finessed. They figure out, hey, what are fake promises or what are real projects? And they're just starting to validate what the market is actually about, which, believe it or not, it's around meme coins and it's around culture and it's around like gambling and fun and crazy activities. This idea of these boring projects that have 9-year roadmaps on how tokens are going to... People have fallen for so much of this that they don't care anymore. So we're in a completely different market. We're in a lot of a more volatile, fun market, in my opinion, that gives access and opportunity to anybody. I think Bitcoin trending sideways is not only good, it's something that we want because it allows us to pack our bags. And it allows us to understand that on the next leg up, if you're positioned properly with these altcoins that are down 70, 80%, when Bitcoin taps all-time high again, $70,000 plus, your altcoins are going to rip and they're going to do extremely well. So what am I allocating to? Number one, always betting on winning teams, right? That's the main narrative. So finding which ones are the popular teams that understand marketing, distribution, and community, super key. Because at the end of the day, how many layer 1 blockchains exist? How many layer 2? It's infinite. It's a ton of them, but it's the one that have the eyeballs. So we'll go into a couple of those later on. And then the second one is narratives and trends. Like, what are the hot narratives? What are the trends? Well, one of the narratives right now is AI. Okay, well, what's the trend inside of crypto for AI? And finding those, identifying those, and then finding the projects that align to those things. So I think it's good. Let's trend sideways a little bit more. No issue whatsoever. But obviously, Bitcoin always makes lower highs, and it's going to continue going up.
One thing I have heard you speak on another podcast in terms of the meme coins, and I found it fascinating because I didn't really think of it in that way. As you've already just highlighted, is like there was a time where we would look, and when I got into crypto, it was a similar thing. Look at the roadmap. Not that I would do it extensively, but it was a case where look at the roadmap. What is the use case for this particular coin, and what's it going to do for the world? And then as cycles go on, you invest into these coins. Yeah, they move, and you make some profits and stuff, but nothing ends up happening with that roadmap. Nothing ends up happening and being utilized. But yet, what you mentioned in terms of the meme coins is that people are now focused on community. People are focused on there is no roadmap. You're believing into this meme, this what it's doing for culture, and therefore it's taking away the sort of need for to be validated by this team or roadmap that normally 9 times out of 10 doesn't end up happening anyway.
And it's a difficult thing. Also, if you look at it as somebody who's investing into these things, think about it logically. Like in most projects will go to zero, but think about it logically. Let's say you fund a company. Okay, a couple $1 million. What's the experience of the team actually? Some experience, maybe others, not that much experience. Super well funded, which means you're already killing the drive and the hunger, right? They already have the money. They already have the tokens. How long till they deliver a product? 4, 5, 6 years? How are you going to keep attention during a bear market? You can't. Your project ends up getting absolutely destroyed. And then the final aspect is utility. How many people are actually utilizing what you have? You look at Sandbox or Decentraland from last bull run. Dude, there was 100 people playing the game. So you have a multi-billion-dollar inflated market cap with no real product, no real audience. And that's why these things aren't sustainable. So when people, like you said, they look at all these big roadmaps and they're like, oh, well, I'm going to invest into something legit. Realize that 90% of these guys, they're not going to fulfill anything that they said. They don't have the capabilities. And it's almost impossible to do. How so? You're trying to build a company that's for profit, generating some sort of revenue, and then you're trying to maintain a chart, a crypto chart. These are 2 full-time ecosystems in and of themselves. Imagine launching a publicly traded company and giving it a stock within its first day and having the CEO worry about the stock and the floor price and the performance of the company. What is the success rate of that? Almost non-existent. You have the Ethereums, you have, the instances where teams, the Solanas come together, the Avalanches, and you have superstar teams. You have the Tons, but that's 1 in 1,000. Looking and finding these is difficult. But the reason meme culture is accepted is because people know what they're getting. It's very transparent. It's the most honest part of crypto is memes. You know what you're getting. You're getting a meme coin. No lies.
It's so true, and it's very rare to find. One thing that we've seen over recent months, though, we've seen a huge. I've noticed it. I'm not sure about yourself, but a huge uptick in terms of celebrity creating coins, and unfortunately, a lot of them are promoting it. And by the sounds of it, and what I'm reading is that they're being approached to do this. Then afterwards, it's getting rugged, and then they're wondering as well, what's happened. But and some aren't though. Some are still performing to this day. What are your thoughts on that, though? Because, again, it's kind of off the back of the meme culture and sort of the meme coins performances that they're probably doing this. But, again, they're not really... There's no use case there. There's not really much for the community. It's more so just that they're using their influence to pump these coins up.
The thing about memes is you can't force them. They either work or they don't. The reason Doge works is because everybody fucks with it. Not everybody's going to fuck with Iggy's ass on a photo. It's not, I don't buy that token. I think that's dumb. But that's just me. It's fine, but that's just dumb. Why would I put my money there? I don't. I want culture to pump my bags, not an influencer. An influencer isn't culture. You look at 4chan, you look at Reddit. Dude, it's all PayPays. It's all fucking Doges everywhere. That's what people want to talk about. That's where the attention is. So what you're betting on is attention. You're not betting on people. You're betting now on that individual having attention. Well, how much attention can that single individual actually garner? Not much. So unless they're building a movement, which you can't really build when your ass is the logo of the token, right? It doesn't work that way because that's not how culture functions. Then it doesn't make sense. So I'm always looking at what are cultural plays. What is it that people spend their time typing, doing, interacting with? And then I bet on that. I don't bet on an individual. I bet on the influence of the collective idea. In this case, a Dogecoin would make complete sense. They've been cooking up the Dogecoin chart since 2015. Everybody's been talking about it. Elon eventually talked about it. That's the echelons of culture with 100 million viewers. So you need to be paying attention to where the money goes, and the money goes always where the attention flows.